give some live demos. Always a bit more fun to see stuff live, isn't it? But I figured we'd have a bit of fun before we get to the live bit. So let me introduce you to some research that we did at ServiceNow. So probably a quick show of hands. Has everyone heard of ServiceNow? Oh, brilliant. Excellent. That takes away 10 minutes of the content. Great. So, at ServiceNow, our largest funded research is our AI Maturity Index. And we surveyed over 4,500 executives to understand where they were in their AI journey. And we did it across these 5 categories. And the key insight, this is the second year that we've been doing this. So last year, across all 5 categories, the average maturity out of 100 was 44. This year, the index has dropped, and executives are assessing themselves at 35 points on the exact same scale. So I don't know about you guys, but does that feel kind of like, that's probably about right? I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this. It's all coming a bit quick, isn't it? So we've actually got the research that shows, yes, executives are feeling overwhelmed right now. And in fact, one executive, when I shared this recently at our knowledge event down in Vegas, one executive said, that's because we know this year what we didn't know last year. Come on. But out of interest, out of those 5 categories, which one would you say is probably the one that people are finding hardest, the one that you might be finding hardest? Any thoughts? Which category? Governance? Any advance on governance? Talent. Governance, and talent. Perfect. Yeah, so you're not going to be surprised when we dig into the results that governance and talent were those key areas that people were struggling. So we can spend time exploring this as we go through. But the other thing I just want to share here is a bit of noteworthiness for you taking a photo is we found there was a top 20%. And the top 20% differentiated themselves in key areas. So from the research, we found that the leaders, those most advanced on their AI journey, were ahead in these 6 areas that you can see with the metrics that are there. So, so we're all on a journey together. That's why I want to just have a bit of fun. We're all on a journey together. Can anyone remember creating a playlist with these 2 fingers? This will be anyone born before 1991. When you used to listen to the top 40 on a Sunday night, it would be a 2-hour radio program, and you'd sit with your little cassette deck and you'd press the play and record button when your song comes on, and then you'd hit the pause, wait for the next song. By the end of the 2-hour top 40 show, you'd have your top 40 playlist. It was awesome, right? That's an analog thinker. And of course, that analog thinker then went through the digital revolution, right? And the digital transformation that came. But it's no longer enough. You know, most of us got stuck digitizing. We never actually got to do the transformation bit. But now there's an opportunity if we can become AI first. Sorry, did you want to take a photo? Oh, get a photo of that. That's a better photo. So I'm going to become. So I want to go on a little journey with you here. So you might. I was chatting to a number of you last night about how we personally use AI, and I want to take you on a little journey. So I'm going to take you back about 9 months, and it's because that rate of innovation, that access to information, everything we've invented to date, has been based on human intelligence. And human intelligence is very narrow. There's about a 40-point difference between a genius and an average human. But we're about to get access to superhuman intelligence. We're going to be able to solve problems that we didn't even know we had, right? So this is going to be incredible, and it's going to really drive that rate of innovation. So this is why things are getting faster. But I thought, let's have some creative fun. Any musicians? What instrument do you play, sir?
A variety, but mostly piano.
Mostly piano, okay. And the creative process, it can take a long time to write a song, right?
I'm an AI user, so I use Sumo.
Oh. That's fantastic, because here's an example of agentic workflow. So whenever it comes to AI, it's the origination of thought that's super important, right? That's the human bit. So that started with my 5,000 word document where I'd done my research and I'd written out my theories when it comes to business transformation. But then I used Copilot to summarize that for me, and I took that summary and I chucked it into ChatGPT to turn it into some rap lyrics. I then took those rap lyrics over to Sonal, and yes, I made myself a rap song, and now I'm a published rap artist.
Yeah. We at the dawn of a new revolution, no time to stall. AI's the game changer, I'm shining us all.
Hey, come on, that's not bad. This is, and to be clear, Olaf, I don't play an instrument. I have no musical talent whatsoever, but I am now a published artist. Now, this education that I went through is actually a lady called Hannah Williams, who's the founder of this company called DiskSkills. And she is selling this platform, she is selling this solution into schools so that high school students can learn how to use AI in this new way, to become AI first. Because she realizes that for America to be competitive, we need to train our kids to be AI first in terms of how they're learning. So taking this same approach, and you'll see I did one song, but this takes you through the creative process, thinking about what does the theme of my album need to be? What's the story that I want to tell? And then I will compose a track list that helps me tell that story. So it takes you through the creative process as well as using the tools to create the output. So writing a book, that's easy nowadays as well. Let me introduce you to Tavant. Tavant is a 12-year-old who's very passionate about water conservation. And so Tavant happens to also be a published author. So you can go and buy his book, The Water Guardians, from Amazon, and the money that he makes from that goes to a not-for-profit charity that he set up around promoting awareness. And he's subsequently gone on to write a second book about water recirculation systems. Like, he's very passionate about this. A 12-year-old multi-published author. Holy crap. Right, who's in marketing? Yeah, it's a tough one. Did anyone enjoy sports? Anyone watch the NBA finals? So a couple of weeks ago, so basically I met Hannah about 9 months ago. So I learned that journey 9 months ago. So from 9 months to now, I'll show you the difference in terms of a top sports ad. So this is the NBA final. Does anyone know what the top trending ad was from the NBA finals?
Indiana gonna win, baby!
We're in Florida asking people what they put their money on! I'm all in on OKC!
Indiana got that dog in them!
Will egg prices go up this month?
I think we'll hit $20.
How many hurricanes do you think we'll have this year?
Kalshi lets you legally trade on anything, anywhere in the U.S. OKC!
Indy! OKC!
We all start believing in it about halfway through, and it's like, it's real, isn't it? End to end, that entire advert was one person, 48 hours, a budget of $2,000. Holy crap. For a major NBA final, they're normally $500,000 budget for an advert like that. This is game changing in terms of the speed it's going, right? So, the idea here is we got to think about things differently. And my presentation today is about reinventing the enterprise. So let's start thinking about how we could do things differently from an enterprise perspective. And we heard it in the opening from Christoph. There's a lot of flipping legacy out there. So we've got to do things differently. But we've built our enterprise on the departments and functions that we need to run the business. And so as technologists, what we've done over time is we've built the technology stack that each of those teams, each of those departments needs to do its best work. But that's left us with an incredible complexity, the tech debt, the legacy. And now someone's come along and said, the game's changed. We need to deliver insanely great experiences. We need to unite all this data so that we can bring about agility and agentic workflow. Oh, crap. So where do we see this showing up in an organization today? A great example is onboarding. You're trying to onboard a resource, and that means you've got to go across multiple departments to bring about a really great experience. Would that be a good example? Yeah. Yeah? Like onboarding, offboarding. Maybe it's onboarding a supplier. Maybe it's offboarding a supplier. Any of those processes that go across are rubbish. Should we see what that might look like if it was a good experience? Was that a rhetorical question? I'm going to show you whether you like it or not. So here's an example where I've got delicious global brands, and within that global brand, they've got a fast food chain called Cooper's. And in Cooper's, here's our hero, here's Ava. She's our human resource specialist. So she's going to go over here to her workspace, and she's going to see what work has she got to do today. So she can now see all of the HR cases that she's working on, and she happens to be a specialist with onboarding. So when a new deskless worker pings her from their mobile onboarding app, they're asking, I've got a question about the verification. I want to know whether I can use my global ID as a verification. So she's going to pick that up. Straight away, she's taken into the case where you can see AI's at work doing case summarization to make it easy for her to get up to speed. And she can advise this Kenya, our onboarding resource, that yes, you can use that ID. And what she's going to do there, you see the subtle blue line, is she automatically creates a knowledge article. The next person that has the question can answer that, and we're going to go towards that zero copy. So let's look at it from Kenya's perspective. He's having that conversation on his mobile, but it's more than just that conversational piece. We want to give this deskless worker a whole onboarding experience. So we're going to welcome them into our organization, and they can easily see here the steps that they've got to go through to be ready for work on day one. And we can see the bit that they were stuck on here where they wanted to upload their ID. So now he knows he can use his global ID, so he's simply going to use the phone capabilities to take a photo of his ID. We're using Doc Intelligence to just scrape that, boom, populate. He can just sign it there on his mobile. Job done. Right? So that's what we mean by taking that friction out of every single one of those business processes. And I say every single one because the value proposition here is to now have a destination for your transformation. And your destination is one of a connected enterprise. So as we go round and target each of these workflows one by one, bringing about great experiences, we can then bring order to the chaos. Would you like to see what that order could look like as an outcome? Yes. Fantastic, because I've got another demo. This demo happens to be semi-live. So what I'm about to show you is the dashboard that Bill McDermott, he says, let's hope we're still connected to the internet, we are. So this is a dashboard that Bill McDermott, the ServiceNow CEO, uses on a daily basis. He uses two dashboards, and I will tell you now, I'm not legally allowed to share the data, so it's a copy with smudged data. So please don't make any buying decisions or selling decisions on the figures that you're about to see here. But what you'll actually see is the end result. We have digitized over 1,000 workflows within ServiceNow. And so it took us 4 months of negotiation with each of the C-suite members as to what metric we could use to measure speed, productivity, and risk. So if I go into Jackie's organization, this is our head of HR, and I look at our talent organization, you can see that she's agreed time to fill headcount and time to resolve cases is what she's going to get measured on, or what her organization is going to get measured on in terms of that speed indicator. If I was to go over to our technology organization, so IT for most people, we call it digital technology in our organization. Let's go into IT. We can see that we're using incident resolution time and how many we've automated as an indicator of speed. Now you can see a bit of Gen AI coming in here because we want to start providing insights. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper still because I mentioned Bill uses 2 dashboards. Every single one of our C-suite members has 2 dashboards. One is this, where I'm looking at speed, productivity, and risk for their particular organization. But then we have their operational dashboard. So this is the dashboard that they use every week when they come together. In this case, I've gone into IT. So when we go into IT, we sit down on a Monday. There's no PowerPoint, there's no spreadsheet. All the leaders, so Ben, our CISO, has to turn up, and if this is red, he has to have an answer to the question. And that's the structure that you see here. What's the question I'm trying to answer? What's the metrics I need to answer that? And what's the definition for those metrics? All of these dashboards, if you didn't know, I know you've all put your hand up and said you know ServiceNow. All of these dashboards are available in the ServiceNow store at no additional cost. These are just web components running off of our performance analytics, and you can just download and install these in your instance. So this gets really interesting when I then want to start going in to look at what are those processes that we've digitized. And just getting to the point where you've got a process owner defined here, that's huge from a cultural journey perspective. But I'm going to drill in here now. So bearing in mind, I've gone from that dashboard where I've got Bill's view of speed, productivity, and risk across ServiceNow. And now I'm from there down looking at one of those processes that we've digitized, and I can now start as a process owner looking at how I optimize it. So we talked about basically that new way of thinking that now I can start to digitize all of these workflows across the organization. I'm still going to have my systems of record. They're still super important. So at ServiceNow, we use Workday as our human capital management. We've got SAP backend for our financials. We've still got all those systems, but we've created an engagement layer that enables us to digitize consistently. And then once you've digitized it, now I can start drilling in and say, well, where are these? In this case, I'm looking at incidents. Where are these incidents going? Well, I'm looking at 26,000 records and say, let's look at that by assignment group. Which of my teams are most efficient at dealing with these? Maybe I just have the system tell me where are my bottlenecks. Or maybe I want to go down even further and I can go into automation opportunities where we're using, in essence, machine learning to be able to identify where we've got opportunities to turn on virtual agent conversations and shift that needle to the left. Cool stuff. Should I pause? Because I'm rattling through this super quick. And we've covered a lot of ground. Any questions thus far? Please.
For process optimization, who are typically the personas that are monitoring process optimization? And then also data. How do you, making sure that your data is accurate to produce those?
Yeah, so this is very much an iterative journey, right? In terms of we want to digitize the process, that starts to clean up the data in essence, and then I can start mining the data as I'm doing here, and I can start optimizing it. In terms of who's doing this, then that person that you saw on the list, we identify a process owner, and the process owner is the one that's coming in here and doing the analysis. And what they can do from here is they can drop that out and they can create a continuous improvement initiative, right? So they might identify something here, but how do I now trigger into that project and portfolio management world and that continuous improvement world? So you can see that I can fire out into that world so I can then trace the work that we're going to do to make those improvements. Now, there's another side to this as well, coming from that dashboard that we were, so that's the process owner that would be doing the optimization and making those recommendations. But I want to show you something else in terms of a live view. Again, real time. I'm one of 30,000 people at ServiceNow, our employee people, right? I mentioned that we use Workday. We've got about 600 people in HR. They go into Workday on a regular basis. We do not want 29,400 people going anywhere near Workday if we can help it, if we want to give them a good experience, because we want to cut down that swivel chair. So here I am in our employee service center. This is live, ServiceNow Employee Service Center. We do not have an intranet. Intranets are gone. We want to go towards this, I want to be in service of my employees. So now I can come here and I can go to, well, first off, we can see I've got an intelligent search. And because we're about AI, you'll notice that we've made available large language models internally within our firewalls to keep it safe. We want people to experiment. We want people to become AI first, but we don't want them turning to the generally available ones and sticking all the corporate data out there, right? So we brought it in-house, we made it available, so I can use now this intelligent search to search within ServiceNow to do a live internet search, or I can just play with my models all from within this system. Going down here, the other thing I notice is I have all of my approvals. So this was like one of those #1 driving adoption. So we use Concur for expenses. So if anyone's going to complete an expense report, they'll go into Concur and they'll create their expense report. If anyone on my team submits an expense report, I don't want to have to swivel chair to go and approve it. So I get all the approvals here. And of course, this is all mobile friendly as well. So I haven't approved an expense report on anything other than my mobile in about 2 years. But it's not just expense reports, because it's if someone puts in a request for some new software, or if it's a PO, all of the approvals come through in the one place. So that really helps drive adoption. You see other things that we're doing from a cultural perspective, things like kudos in here associated to our values. Individuals have their own career development here. And then because it recognizes my persona, and persona is the first level of personalization. So because it knows I'm a manager, it's given me that access to the extra management stuff. And we can see up here that I can go into my manager hub. Now, we have our process of quarterly growth conversations. So I initiate that, all of it from here. So yeah, this is and I'm just giving you an example here, and I'm just exploring this. So, stop me or raise questions as you go. But I can now see that, okay, so Jack's, I can see I'm a good manager. I've completed all of my quarterly growth conversations. But when I fire this off, it'll fire off a request for Jack to come in and fill in his view of how things are doing and how he's doing against his goals. And then you can see I can report back on that. And then once we've done that dialogue, close out. So we're just bringing what would normally be a disjointed experience, and we're bringing it into an overall experience where I can just get stuff done. And so from a HR perspective, we talk about moments that matter. Yeah, so I want to know something, I want to do something, I need help doing it, or I need care. And during those moments that matter, if we deliver a really differentiated experience, then we'll be winning that war on talent. We'll be getting them in. Now, beyond that, there are journeys. Onboarding would be a great example of a journey, or maybe I transition into being a new manager. We want to help that person through that journey. So journeys are moments that matter. But just so that we're not stuck on the employee side, there's a follow-through. Okay, so a great employee experience leads to a great customer experience that leads to great customer loyalty. In fact, let me just go back one more, because we went off on a fun ride into the real stuff there. But I want to just come back and make sure I have explained what it is in terms of who we are. So does everyone know ServiceNow is a ticketing tool? Yeah. Did you also know we're a platform for agentic workflow? Yeah. Hey, hi, G. So it happened, I joined ServiceNow in 2014 because I was actively looking for that last great enterprise software space. ERP was done. That was 80s, right? 90s, we turned our attention to the customer and CRM was born. But there was that last great enterprise software space, something that was going to glue it all together. So that's what I identified with ServiceNow. And when I joined in 2014, we had commoditized ITSM. And that's because when Fred took the platform to the VCs back in 2004, they said, love the vision, Fred, love the platform, but what am I actually going to buy? And he was from Peregrine, so the first apps that we built on this platform was instant problem change. 10 years later, we commoditized ITSM, and now it's just a journey of basically, you can see the upward trajectory, organic growth, I'll point that out. So everything we acquire along the way, and we've made over 40 acquisitions, we re-platform the technology because we're buying intellectual property and people. Let me emphasize that point. Back in 2016, we bought a company called DX Continuum. Do you know how hard it is to recruit data scientists in Silicon Valley? Super hard. So we recruited 12 of them by buying their company, DX Continuum, 2016. A year later, that was the first machine learning capabilities that came out on the platform. And as you can see on this journey that we're on, we've been adding intelligence all the way along. And of course, that intelligence now has grown to the point of agentic. So if we look at that in a slightly different way, let me just jump forward a sec here. Oh, it's a build slide. One sec. So as we saw that growth curve and that layering on of intelligence, it starts here where we define the skills. So I have an agent studio in ServiceNow, and I define what skills I want my agent to have. And then I define my agent, which is the autonomous piece. What's the outcome this agent needs to achieve, and what skills does it need to achieve the outcome? And then that outcome is part of an orchestration layer, and the orchestration layer is that agentic piece where now I can take all these autonomous agents and I can get them to achieve a business outcome. Would you like to see how that might look? It's getting hot, isn't it? Wow. Let's jump over here then. No. Let's look at the automotive industry. I was going to show you doing mortgage lending, but I thought that might be contentious, so I thought I'd stick to automotive. So let's look at this as our quality leader. So she's working for an automotive company, and she's just got an alert that basically there's a tire issue on one of their models. So she's going to drill into this, and she's going to now reach out to Now Assist, and she's going to ask Now Assist to do the analysis. Tell me why we've got so many reported issues with this tire. So can you help me analyze the increase in the tire-related reports over blah, blah, blah? Right. Okay, I'll just abbreviate it for you. Yes, the AI found a problem. It found a problem with, put my glasses on, a tire pressure issue. Well, fantastic. I think it would be a great idea then if we got this over to the quality engineering team and we raise a case with our quality engineers to drill further into this. So let's now drop over, and we can see that quality engineer team have got a playbook that enables them to go down through and analyze what it is and why it might be happening in terms of these tires. Now, through that playbook, they identified that there's a particular batch, lot number A12B6, which if you're looking in detail, that has a problem. So before I go on to show how we've then resolved that with the customers, let's look behind the scenes here a bit, particularly at the agentic. So it starts with this thing called data fabric. So within ServiceNow, you don't have to have all the data in ServiceNow to trigger the work to be done. So here what you're seeing is, yes, there is some data internal to ServiceNow, but using zero copy, we're indexing to other data sources. That could be Databricks, could be Snowflake, could be Oracle. Yeah. So if something now happens in one of those data repositories, it can trigger the resolve or the analysis that we're doing over here in ServiceNow. So that's one key part. And then the sexy bit is that orchestration. So the PowerPoint I just showed you, here it is in the product. Here it is for real. Here's my autonomous agents that all have a job to do, and I'm now going to orchestrate over those agents to bring about the outcome that we were just looking at in terms of the demo that we were going through. We're not just a ticketing tool. It's powerful stuff, right? Powerful stuff. And what I'm showing you is available today. I did not put a future slide up because I haven't shown you any futures yet. All right? I'll put that caveat. We're going. So that's what was happening behind the scenes to get us to this point where we've identified a problem. So now we want the manager of the dealers, he's got to manage that relationship, right? He needs to notify all the dealers that have been delivered tires or cars with the tires from that lot. So he now goes to his workspace and he asks Now Assist, hey, can you give me a list of all the affected dealers? Sure. Now Assist comes back and says, I can absolutely do that for you. Here's a list of all the affected dealers. And now I can go, all right, let's just check that list. Wow, it's quite a lot of affected dealers. I better just send out a notification to them all. So now I can just use Gen AI to create my nice little email that I want to send to them all, and then boom, it's going to automatically send that email out to all of those affected dealers, advising them on the steps that we want to take. Bim, bam, bosh. Now, I started early, so I've got no idea on timing. 46 seconds. Any questions? Please.
What were some of your challenges in creating the AI agent orchestration while running on top of ERP systems that have their own notion of workflow?
Yeah, great question. So it means that we can rethink the systems of record. So where we've spent a lot of time and effort to create customization and create workflow in those legacy systems, I don't need to do that anymore. I can keep it pristine, I can keep it clean, and that lowers the cost of ownership, de-risks it, and then I can lift all of that configuration into that experience layer. And that's how I get to rethink how I'm doing enterprise software, and I can reinvent the enterprise as is today. So maybe just to tag on, business transformation, we're seeing I've got to fix the past. So that bit that we got stuck in with the digital transformation of digitizing workflow, I've still got to do that, it's still important. But I need to be able to get to this point where I've shown you that process optimization. I need to get to that point because I need to be able to ask the question, why? Why? That's the opportunity that we have now to really transform the business. With AI coming along, I get to do the transformation that I got stuck not doing during the digital transformation. Thanks for the question. Does a follow-on?
Yeah. Did you have to use a lot of APIs, create your own APIs? Because to make it work, I mean, it's not as easy as it sounds.
It's not. No, it's super easy. You put it on a slide and it just all magically happens, doesn't it? I don't know. What's that? Let me go back. I'll show you one more marketing slide. In fact, I don't think I've shown you any marketing slide. I'll show you. This is the one marketing slide. Any AI, any data, any workflow. So really, we've got to have an open system and any cloud even. So ServiceNow, you can run we've got 30 data centers plus globally. So you can run ServiceNow in our cloud, you can run it in Azure, you can run it in AWS, or you can run it in your own cloud, right? So cloud agnostic, data agnostic. I talked about data fabric, whereby you don't have to have the data in ServiceNow to be able to trigger. So if SAP is your system of record or Oracle, yes, things can happen over there that then trigger up into ServiceNow. And then the AI as well. So we have our own large language model, but you don't have to use ours. You can use your own. You can use ChatGPT. You can use anything you like. Okay? You could use multiple for the different use cases as you solve across the organization. So in amongst this, it didn't actually show on this slide, which is a bummer, but in amongst this is the integration piece. So we have an integration capability we call Integration Hub, and we define spokes. So there's a whole heap of out-the-box integrations that we have, and we're adding to that library on a 2-weekly basis. Because whilst we release software platform 2 releases per year, we do 2 releases. We do a release every 2 weeks into the store. So you don't have to wait to upgrade if you want to take the opportunity of a great integration that's in there. So there's a whole bunch of out-the-box integrations, but it's a super open database where you can create whatever integration you need. Yeah.
So it's a great demo, Simon. I have a question around the way these things are working. So it seems to me, based on the demo, that there's a piece that AI does, and then there's a piece of smart automation. Then there's a piece that AI does, and there's a piece of smart automation. Is that how it is working right now? Or I'm trying to understand what is the AI part in the agent-to-agent communication?
What a brilliant question. And we'll end on that question because I want to be respectful for the next speaker. But think of it as deterministic workflow and non-deterministic. So if I want to go full agentic, then the AI is going to work out the most beautiful path and we're going to end somewhere over here and it's all going to be magical. Well, that's great, but a lot of shareholders don't like that. They like to know where we're going to end. And what we want to do is optimize the route through that. So the beauty of the platform here is that I have both. So I have deterministic workflow, and then I can make that efficient by adding AI into that, stuff like case summarization that you saw there and resolution notes and things like that. Or we can go full agentic, and we start to get the AI to predict where it wants to get to. So, but that's a fringe case at the moment. We're definitely not at a point where we can trust it to just go, yeah, reformat my business for me. Not quite yet. We're getting there. We're going that way. Okay. Hey, thanks everyone. That was a whirlwind. Look forward to the conversations during the break. Thank you.